report on all the missed calls.
Yeah. You guys are going to ask about all that? I thought we were going to just talk about the game.
What do you think about noise coming out of Houston's camp?
It's disappointing because the focus should be on two teams who played extremely hard. I mean, watching the tape, both teams just got after it and competed. But we just watched the tape upstairs. You don't think there were 10 calls that we thought we got fouled? I mean, this is how it goes. And every coach in the league will tell you the same thing. You watch the tape and you go, man, that's a foul, that's a foul. It's the nature of the game. It's very, very difficult to officiate an NBA game. There's all kinds of gray area. And in the modern game, a lot of players have gotten really good at deception, creating contact. And, I don't remember people falling down on three-point shots. All the time when I played, it's a different rule. Once you release the ball, you were allowed to make contact. There was no foul, but the game has gotten. There's so much deception as part of it, as part of the game, that it's very, very difficult to officiate. But every coach in the league will tell you, you watch the tape afterwards and you think, man, we got screwed. The reality is, you get some, you lose some. The refs do the best job they can, and then you move on to the next game. And so I'm disappointed that this has become the whole narrative when it really should be about two great teams competing against each other.
Steph did say that he went and studied before you guys did it as a group.
He went
and studied every one of James's threes from last night, just to have a better feel going into game 2. I mean, is that just him doing his homework?
Yeah. That's. I mean, all our guys get personnel tapes before the series starts, and guys who they're going to guard, and so that they're familiar with their patterns and their moves, and so that's a veteran player just doing his job, and then we do it as a team as well, try to pick out what we did well, what we did poorly, and try to get better each game.
Steve, specific to Harden, how do you prepare the group for the way he jumps and the way he comes down after shots?
Well, it's it's tricky. Obviously, he's a great player, and he creates a lot of space, and so you have to try to challenge without fouling. So there's different ways you can try to do it. There's different options. But it's a difficult job. I mean, he's the best step-back three-point shooter ever, and so it's not an easy job. And we just got to keep doing the best we can and keep the pressure on. And we feel like our defense is good enough where we can force a lot of misses. He's going to make some, but we feel like we can force some misses, and then we got to rebound and run.
What do you think the result of all this lobbying and narrative about officiating will be on the game tomorrow?
I don't think there will be any result. The referees do their job. People lobby the league all the time. This was a very public way of doing it, but people send in clips of the previous game. There's kind of a process where if you have a complaint, you complain to the league, and so it's rarely done this publicly. But the refs are going to do their job, and as I said, did they miss some calls for Houston? Absolutely. They missed some for us too. I mean, it's I don't know. I've been part of 6 teams as a player, and now 2 as a executive or coach, and all 8 of those teams have gotten screwed by the refs. All 8 of them.
It must be you.
It's got to be me.
Steve, our Houston affiliate wants to ask about Nene at his age, the contribution that he's making, what you have to do when he's on the court.
I thought Nene really played well last night. He's old school, powerful center who can score inside, and it was a little bit of a surprise to see him. I think that was a decision that Mike made that one of those calls you make where you probably debate it in the room and decide to go a certain way, and I thought he played well.
How awful with the energy and effort on both ends last night. Not so much some of the turnovers, but it seems like the last few games you've built a little momentum.
Yeah, the energy's good. The effort is amazing. The execution was lacking, and our guys know that. They knew it last night. We reinforced it, on the in the film session, and that's where we've got to clean up. 20 turnovers, a lot of them unforced. When you're playing a great team, you can't live with that. You can't get away with that too often. So we're really happy to get out of game one with a win coming off that Clippers series so quickly, I don't know, 40 hours after, whatever it was. And so now we've got a lead, but there's a long way to go, and we've got to tighten up our game.
You have
Steve, the math played out in your guys' favor yesterday in terms of them not making the large volume of threes and you guys doing well offensively. What do you think is the key in getting through that throughout this series?
Getting through
Just the equation of value, determining threes and the usage of them and other shots.
You just got to score more points, however you get there. And we the two teams have very different philosophies and different personnel. So I think Houston does a great job playing to their personnel. We try to do the same thing, and they're going to shoot more threes than we are. We're going to try to get better looks from two, and however the math plays out, there's only one number that matters at the end, and that's who scores more points.
You have obviously the between games lobbying right now. You have rule interpretations. You got constant complaining on the court. How awful a job do referees have?
I don't know why anybody would want to be a ref, honestly, but it's they kind of know what they're getting into. When they're training to be refs, all you have to do is watch a game and how intense and competitive the NBA playoff games are. And so those guys are going to be under the microscope. We know that now that you've got reviews and social media and everything else. They're on the spot, and as I said, there's so much gray area in this game, and they're going to miss some for both teams. They're going to get some right for both teams. They're going to do their best. We're going to compete. Whoever wins. But that's all there is to it.
Is there too much complaining these days on the court?
Yeah. Our guys and me too. We complain an awful lot. There's a lot at stake, and Draymond's already got 3 technicals. I think Kevin has a couple. So we've got to find a way to compete and walk that line, without crossing the line and being too demonstrative and too emotional on the sidelines and on the court.
Steve, why do you think it's worse now?
I'm not sure it is worse. It's always been. I just think there's more exposure. There's more media outlets. There's more technology. Every single play in a playoff game, there's so many different angles, and those angles immediately are put on social media, and the fire burns a lot quicker. The brush fire starts, and it's out of control. And here we are today. The whole story is about some missed calls, and again, like we didn't get any missed calls. Like every missed call went their way. I mean, come on.
How much ref lobbying and complaining and the stuff we're talking about was there in the 90s? I mean, do you remember?
I don't remember because, on the court there was plenty. I don't remember the process. I don't know if there was the protocol where you could send in plays back in the 90s. But the league tries to do the best they can and cover their bases with all that stuff and be fair to everybody. But it's a tough job.
Any memorable hustles or gamesmanship people used to pull back in the day?
Say that again.
Any memorable moves or hustles players used to pull to get a foul back in the day?
I don't think there was nearly as much of that as there is now. There's play was a much more condensed game. You didn't have all the spacing that you have today, so you didn't have as many driving lanes. You had teams trying to get out in transition, but you had a lot of wrestling matches. And one of the reasons the league decided to changed the rules were, you know, some of those finals games in the late 90s, mid to late 90s. I played in a lot of, like 78, 73, and, you know, it was just a wrestling match the whole way. So, league, you know, the league has really favored the offensive player over the last 15 years in the way the rules are written. So you're able to get away with more. And as players have been able to get away with more, they've you know, manipulated the game into really a perimeter game. It's become much more perimeter oriented than on the inside. And these guys are all smart. I'm not talking about I'm talking about the whole league. Guys are really, really clever, and they do their best to get a call. And why wouldn't they?
Steve Bowers, Clay, and Steph went up with their ankles.
They're good. Yeah, they both seem good today. They'll get some treatment and, you know, a couple days rest, and then play tomorrow night.
How much did those initial minutes when you subbed in Looney for the first time? I mean, he kind of kept that level, makes 3 quick shots, and
Yeah.
I know he does that, but it seemed like a key stretch.
Yeah, Looney has been great throughout the playoffs, and gave us another big lift last night, and does a great job defending without fouling. You know, getting some key buckets, hanging around the rim. Very, very smart player. He sees and feels the game, kind of like Andre does. You know, and he knows what he's doing. All right, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
See you around tomorrow.